from our standpoint, that gives us a lot of comfort to know we're in the right place. We can see ourselves growing here for a long time, and we really don't, see the need to have to go anywhere else. We can accomplish all our dreams here.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the McKinney Momentum podcast. I am Mike Wilkes, the project manager overseeing the Innovation Fund. And here with me is Andrew, the CEO and founder of Rikodi, and Denny, the CEO and founder of Snipitz. So we'll give Andrew and Denny a little chance to introduce themselves and their companies. But real quick, a highlight on the Innovation Fund and what we do is our McKinney Economic Development Corporation invests into startups that headquarter in McKinney. And what we do is provide non-dilutive capital. So we don't take any equity from the startup. We want them in our community. We want them to grow and find success in our community and create job opportunities for our local citizens. So with that being said, I would love to start off with Andrew. Could you please just do a high-level introduction of yourself and Rikodi?
Yeah, glad to be here, Mike. So thanks for this opportunity. So I'm Andrew Naugher. I'm founder and CEO of Rikodi. We are a company that's focusing on helping sports and entertainment organizations build greater fan relationships and maximizing the value of those relationships that we have. We are doing that through the power of community storytelling. So we are really turning fans into content creators for our clients. We are rewarding those fans for varying levels of participation in the campaigns that our clients run through Rikodi. But we're using that as a way for our clients now to be able to accumulate a lot of more authentic, compelling content that they can use in a variety of different experiences. But we're also leveraging that content to be able to find a deeper, more emotional connection with fans. So fans are really able to tell more intimate details about themselves, their fan journey, the things that are important to them as a fan. And so giving not only our clients, but their sponsors kind of a better understanding about how to effectively communicate and build relationships with their fans.
Absolutely. That's very interesting, and we'll learn more over the course of this podcast. But Denny, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Snipitz?
Sure, Mike. Thanks for having us. Andrew, always good to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Snipitz at the core is a data and analytics company. And, we use an interactive player as the collection mechanism as to how we collect that consumer data and also viewer behavioral data. So at the end of the day, this also is designed to be a fan engagement tool, but, the real value prop in our model is to provide that fan data so that, sports properties and leagues can, monetize, whether it be future ticket sales, whether it be merchandise, whatever it may be, to deploy a much more targeted campaign, to reach their individual fan or viewer.
Absolutely. So it seems like you're on a mission to help the fan just see what they care about, the players, the events, and really give them opportunities that are customized to them. And then it can give the organization and the sports team better return on their marketing campaigns and better return on their initiatives because they're sending it to the right people that are interested. And so I kind of saw some overlap with fan engagement and bettering the experience of fans, bettering the data and collection for these sports organizations. So have y'all seen any overlap potential with these two companies?
Well, interesting enough, we have. It's I thought it was kind of ironic that it was about a year ago this time that I had discovered Snipitz and was reading and started following Denny on LinkedIn and had a desire to reach out to connect with him, but I thought this guy's way too smart for me, and there's no way that he'd want to deal with someone like myself. But But thankfully, through the Innovation Fund, you all were able to make the introduction, and we've been able to have some very fruitful and productive conversations. Of course, just getting to know Denny on a personal basis, he is an amazing person. We share a lot of the same values. We share a very strong faith, which is something that we really rely on as we're building our company, building our culture, trying to do things the right way through that prism. But we also found a very shared and passion around fan-centric experiences, and both coming from two different places, but hearing input from various organizations, not only here in the U.S. but overseas as well. And so we really thought that there were some great opportunities to work together and looking at leveraging our technologies with integrations and things like that, and even going as far as helping each other on the business development side. So we're very excited about that potential and where it can go from there. And I think we're very excited about it. It's something that I think has added, like we needed more motivation because we love what we're doing anyway, and we felt compelled that we're on the right path with our companies. But now to be able to really partner with someone who shares that, I think is going to be a great accelerant for both of us.
That's outstanding. And I was so happy, and we're here in part to celebrate this partnership between these two incredible founders that are driven, that are delivering real value to every stakeholder. And there's opportunity for them to partner and combine their initiatives and combine their efforts. And so it's just something that can happen when you create a community. And that's what we try to do in McKinney, and we try to do that throughout the region, is create a community for founders to collaborate, to help one another in any shape and size that it might come in. And so it's very rewarding, and we will continue to do everything in our power to create this community because of what it does for the founders and the opportunities for synergies that it can create. So, Denny, could you explain a little bit about how this partnership came to be from your side?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate the kind words. I feel like I need to stroke you a check or something. But, no,
I'll give you my Cash App.
No, I mean, I have to, say Madison actually put us in contact. She was prompted by Andrew. Apparently you guys certainly saw the fit. And after, a few conversations, it became, apparent to me as well. But, they do take care of something that we don't, which is user-generated content. And that's, this whole thing with fan engagement really encompasses a lot of things. But UGC has become a very big thing. And a lot of the big broadcasters are trying to figure out, well, how are we going to manage this? People want more authentic stories. Mm-hmm. The days of things being polished and completely produced doesn't really appeal to the, younger generations anymore. So to be able to incorporate, a UGC strategy into our product offering makes a whole lot of sense. And, one of the things that we bring to the table is, quite a robust content management system along with, a very intuitive data analytics dashboard. It just completely made sense. But I ditto Andrew's comments and sentiment. I have a tendency to look at people first, which is why I have a high, level of admiration for you, Mike. We've always, had a very good relationship, but understanding, what makes Andrew's clock tick just made it all that much better.
That's outstanding. There seems like there was some connection on the professional opportunity and then the personal side of just collaborating and getting along as partners. So
Right.
it's incredibly important. I double down on what you say about people, and I've heard that time and time again about the people driving the team, the people that you collect around you that create the culture, and having complementary people that support your weaknesses, that your strengths support their weaknesses, is a recipe for success. And so I congratulate y'all. I want to talk about this partnership and what it means going forward in just a minute. But I'd like to take a step back and, Andrew, ask you about how this idea of Rikodi came to be.
Sure. Well, I love to tell this story. It really began several years ago. My father, who was a minister, was dying of Alzheimer's. And when I had to make the announcement that he was going through that, I was very overwhelmed by the sentiment, the outpouring from people literally from around the world, as far away as China, were sending stories to me about how he impacted their lives, but they were sending pictures. Some had some video. I had a couple of people share some audio of him. I have wedding vows that he had written for people. I had notes of encouragement that he had written to people during, a downtime. I had pictures of people who, from their Bibles, where they had written notes from his sermons and in the margins, and they still have that Bible. So it really started out as a way of being able to organize and preserve memories, but in a more of a collaborative experience, and not around end of life memories, but really about everyday memories. How we all have experiences with different groups of people in our lives. So we really started out focusing on a consumer experience, and then just happened to come across a woman who was a consultant in the sports world and said, Andrew, this needs to be a fan engagement platform. And would let me introduce you to, some of people that I work with, and just take this concept in and tell them what you're trying to do and see how it would work. And so 300 plus conversations later, we're now a sports and entertainment fan engagement platform. But what's been most rewarding through this process is that when you're sitting in a room full of people at major sports teams or major college athletic departments or people that handle social media for major country stars, they really start to get emotional and talk about their favorite memories. And they're not all sports related, but they just bring up the power of memories. And so we really thought, okay, there's something here, but drilling down to try to truly understand what memories can do to solve the problem. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to create a solution. Denny's doing it. You all, MEDC's doing it. We're all exist because we're trying to solve a problem. We're trying to create solutions for people. And what we heard consistently was in the sports and entertainment world is that there was a real need for greater fan engagement, for year-round fan engagement, for longer, deeper fan engagement. But we also heard that they just don't know who their fans are. A lot of the data that they have right now doesn't really give them a deeper insights into the true behavioral patterns of fans. And then, of course, they're always looking for ways to make money too. So as we stepped back and we thought, okay, from our initial concept, how can this work? How can this be developed to solve those problems? And we found that there was a true intersection there. So I think that's one thing that's been the best part about this is that you're seeing the initial immediate response to people understanding the power of memories and what that means and how you're like when you're sharing memories and stories and experiences. But there's something really, there's a treasure trove of vital content and data and opportunities to generate revenue within those memories as well.
That's outstanding. And Denny, I understand that you were recently on the podcast able to talk about Snipitz and the story and everything. And so I do encourage all of the viewers to look at Denny's podcast because it's a tremendous journey that he's taken and it's a tremendous vision that he's going. And here I wanted to talk about the partnership in a little bit more detail and what that means for both of your companies going forward.
Well, the media landscape is shifting right underneath our feet. We've never seen in the history of broadcasted television, big tech get involved, in sports the way you see it today. Amazon with Thursday Night Football getting into, soccer and all kinds of other things. Netflix is now making a run at it. And even recently, we've seen a pretty substantial announcement coming out from Fox, Warner Brothers, and ESPN coming together with their new, streaming initiative. And everyone's trying to find their footing, and this thing called fan engagement has really become a thing. It's become front and center. In the past couple of years, people were trying to figure out what that actually looked like and what it meant. And what we're seeing on everyone's roadmap this year is, okay, well, how do we, start actually building, this in? So as far as the partnership is concerned, one of the meetings that we had with one of the largest broadcasters in the United States, really the world, one thing that they were most interested in was actually in user-generated content. And they even asked us, well, how does our UGC initiative, fit into this interactive player that you have? And, at the time, we didn't have an answer for that. So, of course, when I started to learn more about Andrew and Rikodi, I immediately reflected back to that conversation. I was like, man, I wish I had known these guys, previously. But what you're seeing in the sports tech space specifically is you have a lot of great companies out there, whether they are in prop or micro betting, whether they're in augmented reality, VR, or even, the gamification of things. And, last year was a very tough funding year. And so you have everyone kind of running solo, right, trying to acquire all these sports leagues and properties as clients. And I think there's going to be power in those numbers and in that talent, And so I started looking at our model a little bit differently. Could Snipitz, because we can deliver rich content, I think the most effective way storytelling is still through visuals, still through video. But could our player be smart enough where it can actually understand the viewer behavior so much so that it can start pulling into the same iframe these different experiences, including stories that are generated by the fans themselves? So as sports properties continue to figure out ways on how to go direct to consumer, they also have to figure out how they're going to produce their own events because they've never had to before. If you think about it, they've sold rights to ESPN, CBS Sports. They're the ones, the broadcasters, who were responsible for doing the storytelling. Now that the properties and leagues are doing their own storytelling, what does that look like? And they're finding a lot of value in allowing the fans to help create that content, okay, to be able to share that content in some way. And they want their fans to be able to interact with the content so they can understand what's most important and relevant. So it actually was a really, really good fit.
Yeah, to echo what Denny said, that I think we're also seeing the shift where before there was so much focus on fan engagement. And I think that, engagement, of course, is a term that's used a lot with social media and relevant platforms. But I think most marketers especially understand this, is that engagement has kind of become a passive term because engagement is really about getting someone to take an action that you want them to do, that you're motivating them to, sign up, to purchase, to click, to do something, to take some kind of action, not just mindlessly scrolling through and maybe hitting a like, that type of thing. So I think, too, in the pandemic kind of showed that relationships with fans were a little more tenuous than kind of what they thought, too, because they saw that maybe, fans are going to find other options if there's not live events, if I can't come to a live event or see a live event or something like that. And so I think what we're moving into now is more about fan relationships, is really understanding that we not just looking at fans as transactions, but really looking at them as people who are a part of your organization. And I think fans too kind of want that access. I think sometimes access gets misdefined as we just want to see behind the scenes type of access. But I think fans really now, and I think social media was kind of responsible for tearing down that fourth wall. is that they feel like they should be interacting more with their favorite team or their athlete. Like if I post something and I tag you, I'm almost expecting a response. I think there's that mindset's already there. So I think we're really looking at now where the shift is becoming more fan centric, that really putting the fan not only in the center but giving them control. And just like Denny said, it's what are these experiences where we can be leveraging the fan perspective and those insights, because we are looking for greater authenticity. We're looking for those more organic reactions and responses and stories that are out there. So I think the market conditions now are probably stronger than maybe even this time last year. And so the marriage of what we're doing along with the viewing component of this, because it's been a blessing for us, because being integrated into a live broadcast experience or a streaming experience was part of our roadmap. But we thought, wow, that's really wishful thinking, and that's something we have to push off, down the road. And then, to talk to Denny and understand the very innovative product that they have created. But not only now, but their vision too for the future and what can be done. It was like, well, this was meant to be, because now we can stop wishing and we can go and start creating reality.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that a minute, because, at the end of the day, what does this all really mean, right? To our customer, to our enterprise client. When you can understand a fan's behaviors, interests, and patterns, and really narrow down what's most important and relevant, right? So it's about creating that viewer persona, not just counting how many views a piece of content has, but really understanding each viewer's journey through that content. And you can tie it back to a specific human being, which is another thing that we do, is we could provide a data set that contains 54 data points of a consumer demographic profile. The user-generated content that Andrew can provide through his platform is just an additional piece of information. And so each interaction and each engagement is teaching us something about that viewer and fan. And that's why the big tech companies have made so much money. They know everything about us. I mean, we even take pictures of the food that we eat. And so they know what we like and they know who we're eating with. The question was, well, why isn't that incorporated into some sort of a sophisticated player, which is the reason why we created it. But at the end of the day, when we can tie all that data together and deliver it to our customer and give them the sort of information that can tie future ticket sales or even a specific jersey to that person who was most likely to purchase it, now all of a sudden you can launch a much more targeted, campaign, which is what social media does to us each and every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with what Denny is saying, because the conversations that we've had, I think what's been exciting about the potential of Rikodi is the conversations have really dealt with not only just the digital marketing departments, but with ticketing and season ticketing and premium suites, and then merchandising and things like that, that there's this real need and want of this crossover of everybody being involved in trying to understand who their fans are and get the information that they need to better identify with those fans, identify where the great opportunities are, and to be more hyper-personalized and even hyper-localized in offers that they create, campaigns they create, and things like that. So Denny's actually, Denny's right, is that it's not just going into one department and trying to solve a need for them. This is really the whole back-end operations of a sports organization. But you're even seeing now with athletes, and a lot of this around NIL, we're getting having a lot of conversations with NIL collectives, and so there's this need of athletes wanting to kind of own their fan base too, but now the opportunity of moving past kind of the influencer mindset of paying me to post something, and that's it, is the idea that I can really own my fan base, but I can also now get deeper data on my fans. So I'm becoming a smarter business person because now I know, well, that I can approach different sponsors now that would be relevant to my fan base, and that takes on a whole different mindset now and approach as a business, instead of just trying to be an influencer. That I know the focus is on building a personal brand, but this is really about building more of a business around your brand. So it's a really interesting dynamic of what's going on, and data is certainly at the core of all this.
So the World Cup is coming to North Texas in 2026. What does that mean?
Well, it's a great validation for this area as being able to support and host an event of this nature, and that didn't take one. There was a lot of people involved. I know a lot of the outlying communities have really partnered together, and they've been able to leverage their assets and their intelligence to make this happen. But I think what's most exciting is that they have been very adamant about that this is going to be a fan-centered, fan-focused event. And I think it can really, even though it's a couple of years away, but there's a lot of things that can be done between now and then to really support that and showcase it. And I know from Rikodi's standpoint, we see a real value, and we would love the opportunity to be involved, especially as a local sports tech startup company, but to really be able to help them capture the power of the stories that have been told in the past about soccer in the Dallas area, and the legacies that we have there, but really building excitement for what to expect when you come here. And allowing all the communities to kind of be able to tell their stories around that, and then obviously when the event happens, the stories that are going to and the memories that are going to be generated there to be captured and again to be relived. It's not just in the moment and fleeting like you see on social media, but we're talking about being able to create this enormous catalog of stories of how people have been affected by being able to come and spend time here and get to know this area better. And so not only is that content valuable, but the data behind that can be so critical that can be used for other purposes and for, years after the event is over, and then possibly opening up new ways for new sponsorship and revenue opportunities like that. So we would really, this is a dream scenario for us. And so we're hoping we can be in the position to work closely with the local groups and see how we can leverage our platform to really take full advantage and maximize this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the timing couldn't be better. There's this thing that people talk about, this messy effect, and there's a lot of professional and very famous players from around the world that have now come here, and to be able to have the World Cup, be right in our backyard right now, I think is going to be a game changer for this area. And, I'm a little biased because I grew up playing and I played a little bit in college, and so I have a passion for the sport. I think there's a huge opportunity, and, not just for our companies, but, for other companies. Even some that have received, from the Innovation Fund, to be able to integrate, even if it's on a pilot or a test level. I think there's a huge opportunity for McKinney to really, plant their flag in not just somehow being part of the event, but also to provide these type of solutions to these events. And, they started setting up their data centers and their infrastructure a long time ago. They were here, because there's a lot of work involved. But that takes a lot of work, right? It takes finding the right people, to see if they're open to having those sort of conversations. But, as far as fan engagement, if in fact this is going to be their initiative, I mean, yeah, between the both of us, we have solutions together, certainly independently, to be able to satisfy some of those things. So yeah, we'll see what happens. There's still time.
Absolutely. That is very, very good to hear. The final question that I have is about the region and what we're doing in McKinney that has supported your startups through its growth, through ideation to where you are now with this exciting partnership, and then why stay in this region?
You want to go first? You want me? 'Cause
Have at it.
I mean, I'm a Baptist minister's son, so I can go for hours. So I think what's great for both of our companies, for Rikodi and for Snipitz, is this Dallas area is acknowledged as the #1 city for sports business. So to be able to have the concentration of sports-related and entertainment-related organizations at our doorstep is incredibly helpful. So you have, good relationships. We're blessed. I know Denny is too, to have really strong teams that come from the sports and marketing world. So we can sit down and have conversations as a peer-to-peer and not just a technology company trying to sell a solution, but to really come from a true consultant viewpoint where we can really help them through this. But so it gives us access to that, but there's also just so many great programs around in sports management. I know with the University of North Texas and SMU, those are great programs that are doing preparing those kids for the new dynamics in sports. It's not just sports is fun and wouldn't it be cool to work in sports, but they're giving them real world experiences, so they're understanding the shift that's going on in sports, and so we have talent there, and of course the technology talent that's within this region is amazing. But I think the more encouraging thing is to see the communal support coming up. I think McKinney has done an admirable job of embracing the notion of how building a very strong startup ecosystem is just as important as going out and recruiting the big company to move in as well, because I think you're building a lot of affinity with startups that as they grow, there can be some temptation maybe to move somewhere else, but you're going to feel a greater loyalty to staying here because you believed in the company. And I know from our perspective, to have that kind of belief and support at the early stage is really critical. And I know Denny would agree with this as well. To know that you have other people working side by side for you out there, because it can be lonely, when you're a startup and you don't have a lot of people around you. You've got to keep your team pretty lean anyway. So the more people that you have working for you is incredibly helpful. And I think McKinney has done a great job in catching that vision, and I appreciate that you're always looking to see how you can improve and how you can be better with this. And so, from our standpoint, that gives us a lot of comfort to know we're in the right place. We can see ourselves growing here for a long time, and we really don't, see the need to have to go anywhere else. We can accomplish all our dreams here.
Yeah, and
That's
I'd like to add to that because, I'd like to cite a couple of very specific examples. So I actually had asked permission to have a meeting here with a very large investor out of Silicon Valley, and as usual, you guys were open arms and provided your conference room as a place to meet. And I did not know that you were actually going to come in and introduce yourself. And in that process, you gave Snipitz a huge plug, which helped. In addition to that, there's a very large sports property and organization that has planted their flag here, looking for introductions there. You guys have been helpful. And that's the sort of thing that is really important to any company, let alone startups. But I mean, if you just very simply observe, what this area in McKinney has been attracting, in the greater Dallas area, you have now Techstars and the healthcare space, which was a huge success, a few months ago. Plug and Play now coming into the area. You have half of Silicon Valley relocating into this area. I mean, if you just take a look at the facts, there are reasons for that sort of thing. And so as far as, being able to have access to, whether it be investors or other companies you can collaborate with, or simply just calling, the MEDC or even folks that are directly tied to the Innovation Fund, it's been absolutely helpful and beneficial. And, it's those moments when you don't really feel like you're running solo anymore because, as Andrew said, it could be a lonely journey. So, I would encourage anybody who's in this area, even if you're south of Dallas, it's going to be worth the poke. It's going to be worth investigating, to take a look to see maybe if in the best interest of you and your company, maybe you might want to consider, heading a little north.
Absolutely. Well, we do have a large initiative in supporting the founders because we have invested in you. We want to see your company succeed. We believe that your companies will succeed, and we believe that we have a supportive infrastructure to help them succeed. And then when the company grows, job opportunities are created, and we get our return. So that's the goal, is when the startup succeeds, we can offer a little bit of non-dilutive funding. It helps. But then we try to go beyond the funding. We try to be partners. We try to help your company grow in whatever shape and size. If you need the conference room, use it. If you need introduction to a certain investor or a certain corporation, well, then we'll check all of our networks. We'll do everything that we can to make it happen. And that's how we view every investment, is this partnership. We also look strongly at people and the founders, the people that are driving this company forward. And if we believe in your vision, then we will do everything we can to support you. And so it's music to my ears. It's rewarding to hear that we have made some progress in that. Of course, we're always looking for feedback. We're always looking for ways that we can improve and then just shape a better ecosystem that can help more and more companies succeed and create this DFW innovation hub.
Yeah, I think a lot of money is going to find their way here. I think a lot of companies are going to find their way here. I mean, we have some of the greatest, as far as the sports industry is concerned, some of the greatest sports properties, in this immediate area. I mean, it's a great launching pad.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I think we're just starting to scratch the surface on the benefits of being sports tech companies here in this area, and I think it's a real boom industry for this region, and so it's you're seeing the benefits of creating that ecosystem right here, and there's, I'm sure, plenty more stories that are out there. There are also, there are some great sports tech companies that are doing some wonderful things right now across a lot of different fan experiences. So I think this region really is set to explode around this, and it's certainly grateful to have all the support.
Well, Andrew, I know you love me, but you don't have to cry about it.
It's just, when I think about all this, I just don't know. I can't contain my emotions around this, so it's a great experience.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, it was a pleasure having you and listening to your story and listening about what's to come, and it sounds extremely exciting, and the door is always open. and the phones are always on to call us and just see how we can help.
Well, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mike.
So thank you for being on the McKinney Momentum podcast. And please do check out the Snipitz podcast episode with Denny and learn the story behind Snipitz and the vision that he has. And we're extremely excited about this partnership. We wanted to celebrate this partnership, and maybe in the process is provide inspiration for some founders that are feeling down and out, that you're not alone, and that all founders will go through that in one form or another. I've been a founder myself, and at one point I felt exactly that. And then I got connected with a community, and it made all the difference in the world. And so that's what we're hoping to do. That's what we've made some progress in, and we will continue to do, continue to improve. So thank you again. And do you have any final remarks?
I think this is going to be a big year. It's I just have a really good feeling about the adaptation of the things that we have.
Yeah.
And part of our job as founders is to drive revenues. We both have investor bases, and that's what we're responsible for. So final thoughts is our pre-seed round is still open.
Yes.
So look me up, and we're always excited to talk to new partners, especially financial partners.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments too, and also add that the early funds that like MEDC Innovation Fund gave to us is so important, and I would really encourage a lot of people to look at that opportunity of not thinking about that I have to write a big check to a company, to a startup, but to just find out where they could come in, and those early funds can really be very powerful and just as vital as a big check. And if you're willing to make introductions as well, that's just as important, because it is a numbers game. When you're a founder, you're kind of doing everything to have somebody out there along with you casting the net. So I would really encourage people to just ask how they could get involved and see where there's an opportunity that they could come in early. And I think that can do a lot more than you think. And so I'd really encourage people to think about that and not just limit themselves around having to write a big check to an early stage startup.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both again, and we hope to see you next time on the McKinney Momentum podcast.